परमेश्वर के नाम की महिमा हो। आज सुबह आराधना के बाद यहाँ पे खड़े होने के लिए आपके सामने परमेश्वर ने एक अवसर दिया, इसलिए परमेश्वर को धन्यवाद करता हूँ। हम आज के मनन के लिए जेनेसिस चैप्टर 4 हम देखेंगे। जेनेसिस चैप्टर 4 Genesis chapter 4, 1 onwards will read. And now Adam knew. Just 1 minute. And now Adam knew Eve his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain, and said, I have acquired a man from the Lord. Then she bore again, this time his brother Abel. Now Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in the process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought an offering of the fruit of ground to the Lord. Abel also brought of the firstborn of his flock and of their fat. And the Lord respected Abel and his offering. And the Lord, but he did not respect Cain and his offering. And Cain was very angry, and his countenance fell. So the Lord said to Cain, why are you angry? And why has your countenance fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin lies at the door, and its desire is for you, but you should rule over it. Now Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and killed him. Then the Lord said to Cain, where is Abel your brother? He said, I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said, what have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. So now you are cursed from the earth, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you till the ground, it shall no longer yield its strength to you. A fugitive and a vagabond you shall be on the earth. And Cain said to the Lord, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Surely you have driven me out of this day from the face of the ground. I shall be hidden from your face. I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond on the earth. And it will happen that anyone who finds me will kill me. And the Lord said to him, therefore, whoever kills Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark on Cain, lest anyone finding him should kill him. May his name be glorified. Long back, there was a book called Young Men's of Scriptures. Maybe you all have read it. In that, it was given about two leaders. One is Cain and one is Abel. So I have picked some points from there. And I'm just going to discuss what I learned. I'm not capable enough to teach the church, but just what I learned after reading and going through the Word of God. I'm just here to discuss. If anything, if any fact that I say wrong, also you can just correct me. May God help us. So here we can see Adam and Eve, they sinned against God. They ate the fruit which God has commanded them not to eat, and they sinned, and they were out of Eden garden. And after that, they had two sons. One is Cain, and another is Abel. And we see that both of them come to worship God. So when we read Cain and Abel both comes to worship God, and they both bring the best they can bring. But when we read, we comes to know that God did not accept Cain's offering, but God accepted Abel's offering. परमेश्वर ने केन का उस भेंट को स्वीकार नहीं किया, लेकिन एबल का उस भेंट को स्वीकार किया. तो हम सोच सकते हैं दोनों ने बेस्ट लेकर आए थे, लेकिन हम जब आगे पढ़ते हैं हमको ये समझ आएगा. We will come to know that Cain also thought good for God. Cain also brought good for God. He thought good for God. He brought good for God. but the way he approached to come to God, that was wrong. उसने जो रास्ता चुना था वो गलत था. लेकिन एबल ने भी बेस्ट लेकर आया, लेकिन एबल ने जो रास्ता चुना था, वे ही chose was according to the will of God. So when we also come to worship God, we have to also come and worship, not only to bring the best to God, but the best that we bring to God should be according to His will. So we can think that Adam and Eve were out of the Eden garden and they got two sons. So we read here that Abel and Cain came to worship. So definitely Adam and Eve would have, when Cain and Abel were small children, Adam and Eve would have definitely worshipped God. And they would have set an example already that how to worship God, that we have to bring an animal or a lamb and sacrifice it for God. It's not written here, but definitely we can think. The parents might have taught the children. So that is what Abel learns and Abel follows it. But Cain, though he was aware of it, he used his own intellectual, अपना ही बुद्धि से उसने सोचा, and उसने सोचा कि this is the way how it is done, but let me try my way, because by his knowledge he was thinking that I am also doing best for God. So Cain thought the way he wanted to worship God. So when we come to worship God, we are coming to worship God, so we should make sure that we worship God the way He wants Him to be worshipped. But Cain selects a way Cain wanted to worship God, and that is the reason God did not accept Cain's worship here. And second point we can see here is when we read verse 6. So the Lord said to Cain, why are you angry, and why has your countenance fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin lies at the door. So now we see a merciful God here who gives a chance to Cain, one more opportunity to Cain to do the same way as Abel did. But later on again we see that he refuses and he did not did according to the God's will. And we see that he hides himself from the presence of the Lord and runs away. So here, as I said, when I read this book from where I took the points, it was written about two leaders, one Cain and one Abel. So both had same opportunity to worship God and to come to the presence of God. Both had same opportunity, but one did not. One was not accepted and one was accepted. And we know the reason, we have seen the reason why. And when we look at the two reasons why Cain's offering was not accepted is, one is he brought the fruit from the ground. And we know that God has already cursed the ground. वो परमेश्वर ने ग्राउंड को श्रापित किया हुआ था, कर्स किया था. उस ग्राउंड से मिला हुआ फ्रूट था जो केन लेकर आया. और सेकंड, केन ने अपने ही मेहनत के द्वारा, he brought the fruit from his own labor, अपने मेहनत के द्वारा लेकर आया था. तो ये दो चीज हम देख सकते हैं कि जब हम परमेश्वर के पास आते हैं, we are coming with nothing. We have to come with nothing of our own labor. It is all what God did. So when we come to the presence of Lord, we accept every day, every Sunday we accept this. We have done nothing for our own salvation. Everything God has done. So we are bringing nothing. We just can think this way. People in this world, they are nothing but they try to become everything. But when we look at Jesus, He was everything, but He became nothing for us. So when we come to the presence of Lord, we should accept and we should have in our mind that we are nothing, and by our labor we cannot please God. We have to put a sacrifice in between us and God for a propitiation for our sin. So this is why Cain's Cain's offering was not accepted. Next point between Cain and Abel. Cain, Abel, when he brought the sacrifice, he was knowing that, or with the fact he came that, with acceptance he came to the Lord that he was a sinner. But when we look into the Cain, he overlooked the fact that he was a sinner. Because if he could have accepted himself that he is a sinner, he would not have brought the fruits which he has labored. So many times today's world, when we look upon, people don't accept that they are a sinner. So when we, the children of God, we come to his presence, we accept that we were sinner and Jesus has died for us, and then we come to his presence and we are saved through faith, the same way Abel did. Abel got accepted and he was saved through faith. So this is the third thing which we can see. Cain came to the presence of the Lord without acceptance that he was sinner. He overlooked that, but Abel had an acceptance that he was a sinner. Because I just heard once in our, when I was born and brought up in Surat. So once a brother came from Kerala. He was from Hindu background. So when he got converted, other Hindu person asked him that about its conversion. Then he said, he gave an example. He got converted. He started believing in Jesus. He just asked the Hindu person something. The person that you go to mandir with the offerings to God. So now he asked to the person, are you a sinner? Are you a sinner or not a sinner? Then the Hindu person said, yes, I am a sinner. Then he asked, the food and offerings which you are carrying to the mandir, is it holy or unholy? Then the Hindu person thought and he said, the food, all things which we are carrying, that is unholy, because it is cultivated by unholy person. Then this converted. He might be not perfectly correct, but just I'm illustrating. He said, an unholy man, a sinful man, is carrying unholy food to offer to the holy God. Will the God will accept it? Then the Hindu person said, he thought for a while, he said, no, surely God will not accept it. Then the converted person, he said, this is the reason. We cannot go to God by our own fruits to please God, so that he's a holy God, so the offering should be also holy, and that is only through Jesus Christ it is possible. So that's what we see here. The third point, as I said. And we'll read for the fourth point, we'll read Hebrew chapter 4, 11 verse 4. Hebrew chapter 11 verse 4.
By faith, Abel offered unto God a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, by which he obtained witness that he was righteous, God testifying of his gifts, and by it he being dead yet speaketh.
So we can see here Abel, through which he obtained witness that he was righteous. Abel came to know that he witnessed that now he is righteous because God has accepted him. And it was an excellent sacrifice than Cain, we can see, and God testifying of his gifts, and through it he being dead still speaks. It's written. Today we know that Cain and Abel both are dead. And suppose the dead body of Cain and Abel, suppose they are speaking to us. अगर केन एंड एबल का डेड बॉडी अगर आज हमसे बात करेंगे तो एबल कहेगा आई एम सो हैप्पी. Abel will say, I am so happy. We can ask, why are you so happy? Then Abel will say, I have been accepted by God. Then we can say, why God accepted you? The Abel will say, because I took nothing of myself, but I was saved and accepted by faith in God. But at the same time, the dead body of Cain, he cannot speak anything because he did wrong and he got again a chance to correct him. He did not do, and now he is waiting for the eternal hell. So even the dead body of, as it is written, I just gave the example, he being dead still speaks. He can speak boldly that I am righteous because he worshipped the God, or he took the sacrifice as per the God's will. And so we can see that what Cain got in return of that and what Abel got in return of that, Cain has received rejection, death, and judgment. And Abel has received acceptance, peace, and eternity. So one thing is clear, if today the worldly people, if today they want to select the way of Cain, if I said two leaders, if people want to follow Cain, they can follow, but in today's world, if they want to meet Jesus Christ, they can meet Jesus Christ in grace. Now is the grace period. But if today they don't meet Jesus in this grace period, one day definitely they have to meet Jesus in the judgment time. So meeting Jesus is for sure. आज प्रभु यीशु मसीह को उस कृपा में हम मिल सकते हैं और हम उद्धार पा सकते हैं, या फिर एक दिन सबको उस प्रभु यीशु मसीह के सामने उस जजमेंट के लिए उस न्यायासन के सामने जरूर खड़ा होना पड़ेगा. सो इट्स बेटर फॉर ऑल ऑफ अस टू मीट एंड make our way as Abel did and not to turn into judgment. So next point is, so Cain has selected his own ways. Today when we look into this world, mainly other religious people, they try to please their own God by traveling pilgrimage and all. They travel to long distances, they climb big mountains and all. And by their hard work, they try to please God. But our God's way is totally different. God does not want at all our labor and at all our efforts to please Him. He has already given Christ for that, and just we have to accept it. And one more thing, I was thinking about is, today people mostly promote yoga to connect with God. When I was in school time, I used to, means in our Christian community, we generally say yoga is not connecting to God, it is connecting to devil, Satan and all. So I had always doubt that yoga is just exercise. So doing exercise, how it can connect to devil and all. But after a long time, I don't know this answer, how it is, but this answer I got from our own brother in church, one Lord's evangelist came. He spoke about yoga, then I got a good answer from that. His name is George Matthew. He's a well-known preacher. He said that yoga, we all are spiritually dead. When Adam and Eve did sin, spiritually dead, and our body is ruling upon. Generally, when we do yoga, our body is getting strengthened. And even we can see small children's, it's difficult for us to completely bend forward also. Small children's, we can see they completely bend backward and their head can touch the ground. And there are different poses we can see the children's do. which is not possible by our body. But during yoga and yoga keep on doing, day by day, we can see that the body is getting strengthened. But our Bible teaches us that day by day, our spirit has to get strengthened and it has to overtake the body. But our body is day by day getting strengthened. So doing exercise is good for our physical activities and all. But getting into yoga, which is against the biblical uh, doctrine that our body gets more strengthened and strengthened than our spirit. So that's how I got an answer from there. So we can do exercise, but better we should not go to yoga. And while reading this passage of chapter 4, I just continue to read chapter 5 also. We'll read the chapter 5 verse 1. Genesis chapter 5 verse 1. This is the book of genealogy of Adam. In the day that God created man, he made him in the likeness of God. He created them male and female and blessed them and called them mankind in the day they were created. And Adam lived 130 years and begot a son in his own likeness after his image and named him Seth. So when we were talking about Adam and Eve, the good person, we were talking about Abel and Cain. The good person, Abel died and Cain is still living. Abel का मृत्यु हो चुका है लेकिन Cain अभी भी जी रहा है. So there we can become little sad कि जो अच्छा person है वो तो मर गया. So what about the future generation? But when we read chapter 5, when I read first it is a sad that when we read 5 we'll become happy that Adam and Eve got one more son called Seth, and through his descendants we can say that God, we all are there, or Jesus Christ came. But again, when I read the verse 3, again it was a sad moment when I read. Adam lived 130 years, begot a son in his own likeness after his image. When we read verse 1, God created man, he made him in the likeness of God. He created male and female. So God created man in his own image. But when Seth took birth, it is written in his own likeness, means it is written that Adam lived 130 years and begot a son in his own likeness and after his image. So the bad part here is, the good message is a good son has Cain went in a wrong way, but now a good son is born. But again the sad part is the son which is born is in the likeness of Adam, means there is sinful nature in him, and due to that the descendants of Seth started doing sin. Even I was thinking that in childhood all we think that as children, even is a, because we used to ask like this, if Adam and Eve could not have done anything wrong, if they did not have disobeyed God, then definitely today we would have been in Eden garden. आज हम सब एडम और ईव गलती नहीं करते तो हम एडन गार्डन में होते. So when I was today morning, when I was thinking that, suddenly again I got sad thinking that अगर Adam and Eve they got direct commandment from God, suppose if they would not have disobeyed God, his children Cain would have definitely disobeyed God by eating that fruit. So this is just my imagination. So even Adam and Eve would not have disobeyed. Cain would have definitely. Cain को parents हमेशा बोलते रहते, Cain and Abel को, please don't eat that fruit. God has commanded not to eat that fruit, not to eat that fruit. But Cain, after growing, he would have eaten. Satan would have tempted him, and he would have eaten. So sin would have entered anyway into our life. But God, He found a propitiation for sin through Lord Jesus Christ. So today, this is all we have. All I have to talk about Cain and Abel. So today there are two leaders which we can choose in our life. One is Adam and one is Cain. One is uh, one is selected to please God the way God wants. One is selected to please God the way He wants. एक ने परमेश्वर को प्रसन्न करने के लिए सोचा उसकी तरीके से, और दूसरे ने परमेश्वर को प्रसन्न करने के लिए सोचा परमेश्वर का तरीके से. So even regarding worship we are speaking. So one more thing, when we were in Sunday school, studying Sunday school, I was born and brought up in Surat. So we were studying Sunday school. So our evangelist son, he knows to play guitar very well, and one person knows to play keyboard. So during Sunday school, guitar, keyboard, everything was played, and we used to sing songs. Then I became Sunday school teacher after long time. Then I had a doubt. In worship time, we don't play guitar, nothing we play. Then I used to ask my evangelist, it will be good if we play music, that will be good, because I used to see YouTube videos and all. We can see the foreign people and all, they worship using music and all. So that time I got a reply from my evangelist was, in the Old Testament, people used to play lots of instruments and dance and worship God. But in New Testament, God is willing for worship. God is willing to have worshippers to worship in truth and spirit. परमेश्वर चाहते कि आत्मा और सच्चाई में उसकी आराधना करें. So when we are worshiping, it's not a problem to have instruments, but instruments can make our mind focus on the music rather than worshiping God. So it's better not to have instruments while worship, but if we have also, it's fine. So our assembly has decided not to have. So when we come to worship, our main aim is to be to worship God in truth and in spirit, and that is the way God wants us to worship Him. So we'll keep in mind, as Abel did, we will worship God not thinking that I am bringing my best to God, but thinking that He has done best for me, and we'll worship God according to His will. And yes, just to just this is another book called Hunger of Reality. Long back I read, and there was a prayer in this. With this reading this, I'll close. The prayer, if you want to live a life of Abel and please God, this prayer is a very good prayer. The prayer says, "O Jesus, meek and humble of heart, hear me. Deliver me. Deliver me." And there are many points. From the desire of being loud, from the desire of being extolled, from the desire of being honored, from the desire of being praised, from the desire of being preferred to others, from the desire of being consulted, from the desire of being approved. And it continues, and deliver me from the fear of being humiliated, fear of being despised, fear of suffering rebuke, fear of being forgotten, fear of being ridiculed, fear of being wrong, fear of being suspected. And then it continues, and Jesus, grant me the grace to decide. Now what we should decide? That others might be loved more than I, that others may be esteemed more than I, that others may be chosen and I set aside, that others may be praised and I unnoticed, that others may be preferred to me in everything, that others may become holier than I, provided that I should become as holy as I should. So this is a prayer for us. With this prayer, if we live in our life, there are, if we take the path of Abel, then there are something we are doing in our life every day, but some changes or some revolution we can bring into our life. There are 5 points which I have written one is in our prayer life, second is in our Bible study life, third in our discipline. Fourth, in our love. Fifth, honesty. And sixth is witness. So when we talk about prayer, and this is all I want to be done in my life also, because I am also lacking in it. When we talk about prayer, uh, it's about revolution in prayer. So prayer, we should start praying for others. We should start. We should decrease praying for ourselves, and we should increase our prayer for others. Second is Bible study. It's not important to read a lot. It's not important to take the. We have to put efforts in reading a lot, but it's important how much word is getting into us. That is important. Third is discipline, and fourth is love, and fifth is honesty, and sixth is a witness. How we should witness God. Just I'll talk about this love. I just remembered a small story which during a convention a preacher has said about love. It is a story about two elephants. It is illustrated as two elephants, husband and wife. They were in a big jungle, and one day these two elephants they planned to go for a walk throughout the jungle, and they loved each other so much. So after taking a long walk, it was about afternoon time. दोपहर के समय थी, दोनों हाथी साथ में जा रहे थे. They start feeling thirsty. दोनों एलिफेंट को प्यास लगने लगा. So now they decided that now let's search the source of water. पानी का कोई स्रोत ढूंढते करके वो पानी को ढूंढने गए. But they were in a place they were not aware of, so they started searching a lot. They walked, they got tired, they could not find water, and still they were thirsty. They cannot stop. वापस दोनों हाथी आके चलते गए. They keep on walking, and finally they reached a place where a pond was there, but it was summer time or noon time. There was very little water. Not even one elephant to quench the thirst. एक एलिफेंट के लिए भी काफी पानी उसमें नहीं था. So now, as I said, both the elephant loved each other. They thought कि the husband thought let the wife drink the water, and wife thought let the husband drink the water, because they loved each other. But then they both started, till now they were in search of water, but now they started quarreling that you drink the water, you drink the water. Nobody, they were not drinking. Then they decided, let's do one thing. We will share the water half. Whatever water, little, we'll share it. So they decided we'll share. Then they said, you drink half water, I will drink. But again they started quarreling that you first drink, then I'll drink. Then after some time they came to a conclusion that how elephant drink is they put their trunk. उनका एक सूंड होता है, वो ट्रंक पानी में डाल के भरते और फिर मुंह में पानी डालते और पीते. So first they fill in the trunk. So they decided we both will put the trunk together into the water. दोनों साथ में सूंड को पानी में डालेंगे and एक सिग्नल देंगे और साथ में पानी देंगे. So now they both of them put the trunk into the water. One of them gave a signal. And now time passed होते गया. The water in the pond is still the same. Then they both took this trunk outside. Then they came to know that they both did not drink water. Husband acted as if he is drinking water. He thought that my wife will get the whole water. And wife ने भी यही सोचा कि I will act as if I am drinking water, but full water मेरे husband को मिल जाएगा. So they sacrifice for each other. So that speaking and you drink, that is all means outwards love. But when they sacrifice, we can say that it was inward love and that was real love. So our Christian love for others, that's what I said. It's a revolution we have to bring is our love should be a sacrificial love. It can be money sacrifice, our time, our health, our wealth. So our love should not be just a love of asking how are you and all. We should sacrifice for each other. May God help these words to spiritually grow in my life as well as your life. May His name be glorified.